Today we will be beginning Unit 4, and the lesson today is kind of just setting the stage for you to be successful during this unit. Some key factors in that are you being able to name points, plot points, identify domain and range, inverses, and things like that. So be sure to take good notes and listen carefully. First off, some vocabulary. An ordered pair is a set of numbers or coordinates written in the form x comma y. The x value, called the x coordinate, represents the horizontal placement of the point, so it moves left and right. The y value, or the y coordinate, represents the vertical placement of the point, so this moves up and down. So first we're going to be naming points, meaning we're going to determine their x and y intercept. So we always start right here at the origin, and then we move first left or right and then up or down to get to the point. So to go to point A, I'm going to go to the left 1, 2, 3. So because I went to the left, that's -3 direction. So that's the x coordinate. And then I go up 1, 2, 3, 4. And the up direction is the positive direction. So that's going to be -3, 4 for A. B, again, I'm going to start at the origin, and I'm going to move to the right 1, 2. So that's +2. And then I'm going to move down 1, 2, 3. So that's -3. Down is the negative direction. Speed this up a little bit. All right, now looking at point C, so I start at the origin and I don't go left or right at all. So to indicate that, I'm just going to write 0, meaning I went to the left or the right 0 spots. And then I go just up 2. So that's going to be the point 0, 2. Again, for D, I'm going to start at the origin, and I'm going to move now to the right 1, 2, 3. And then I go up 1. So that's going to be positive, positive. For E, I'm going to start at the origin again, move left 2. So that's -2. And then I move down 3, 1, 2, 3. So again, that's negative direction for both x and y values here. And lastly, for point F, I'm going to move just to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I don't move off the y-axis. I don't move up or down at all. So to indicate that, my y value is 0. Next, we're going to go the opposite direction. We're given the ordered pair, x and y, and we're going to plot the point. So again, we start always at the origin, 0, 0. And we're going to move first left or right. Well, x is negative, so that means I'm going to go to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it's a positive 4y value, so I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. And so there's my point A. For B, I'm going to again start at the origin. And I'm going to go to the right 1, 2, 3. That's my x value. Then I'm going to go down 1, 2. That will be point B. It's always good to label your points so you know what you're looking at. For C, I start at the origin, and I don't go left or right at all because x is 0. I'm just going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 to move in the negative direction. So that's going to be C. For D, I'm going to go to the left 2, 1, 2, and then down 2, 1, 2. So there's point E. And then finally E, I'm going to go to the right 2, but then I don't go up or down at all. So I'm just going to put a point right on the y-axis, and that's point E. So there you go. That's naming and plotting points. Now we're going to name the quadrants. So the quadrants move in a C direction. So we start up here and it moves around like this, counterclockwise. So 1, quadrant 1. Next we have quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. They are written with Roman numerals. Roman numerals are not good for much, but we do use them to name our quadrants. And then from here, I just kind of hover over where the point 3, 5 is and determine which quadrant that's in. So I go to the right 3 and then up 5 to get that point, and that is in quadrant 1. There's another pattern you might notice, and maybe another math teacher earlier may have talked about it, that in the first quadrant, my x and my y are positive. In the second quadrant, my x is negative, my y is positive. In the third, it's negative, negative, both x and y are negative. And then in the fourth quadrant, it would be positive, negative, because x is positive, y is negative. So that's another way to determine the quadrant that it's in. For number 2, I'm going to go to -4, -6, which is somewhere in the third quadrant. I know that because it's a negative, negative. You can also plot the point and see where it ends up. So that's going to be in quadrant 3. For number 3, I'm going to go to the point -3, 0, which is right on the y-axis. It actually doesn't lie in either quadrant. That just ends up in on the y-axis. And then 0, 0, of course, is my origin. So that's a special point here. Its own name. If you think about origin, it's somewhere where you started from, where you originated from, and this is where our coordinate plane originates. Every point starts there. Next, we're going to talk about relations. Just like a relationship is a pairing between two people, a relation is a pairing between two sets of numbers. They can be represented in many different ways. We can see them just as ordered pairs. We can see them in tables. We can see them in graphs. We can see them in mappings. And we can see them in equations. And we will see all of those in our notes. And remember that the domain is going to be the x values, the x coordinates, and range are the y values, the y coordinates. So I'm going to try and use blue for any x or domain value and red for any range or y value, just to keep it straight. So when we're looking for the domain and the range, a couple things to keep in mind. The domain is are my x values. So I'm just going to pick out all my x values, first number in each ordered pair, and then I'm going to put them in order in braces. You probably remember this from last semester. So putting these in order, I would start with the lowest and go up to the highest. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now my range are my y values. So I'm going to take all my y's. And my lowest y value here is going to be -4. And then -1, 0, and 2. Why do we care about putting them in order? Well, we have to have some kind of standard so that you can easily compare back to, what's the right answer, or compare back to another mathematician and you all are writing everything in the same order. So order does matter here. Now for the equation, we have to do a little bit of work to find the range. However, the domain is right there for us. Those are the x values. And it says for all these x values, we're going to find the y value. So we already have the domain in order for us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I said, though, we're going to have to do a little extra work to find the y's. So maybe you remember this from middle school, setting up where you've got your x values, you have your rule, 2x plus 1, and then you have your y values. So we're going to take all of our x values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to plug those into our rule, our equation, and find the corresponding y values. So I'm going to replace x with 1 first, and I will get 2 times 1 plus 1 is going to be 3. Then I plug in 2 as my x value. 4 plus 1, which is 5. Then plug in 3 for your x value. And this time I'm going to get 7. Notice I'm counting by 2s. That's the function rule. The slope is 2. I'll get 2 times 4, which is 8 plus 1, so that's 9. And the last one, 2 times 5 plus 1 is going to give me 11. So now I have my range, my y values in order, so I can go ahead and write those down. So 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. And there you have it. So for an equation, you do have to plug in your values in order to find your y. But it's not too bad, you've done it before. Go ahead and flip over, and we will look at graphs, tables, and mappings. So for the graph, we simply have to look at, again, our x values for the domain. So I'm going to start from the leftmost point of my graph and move to the right, and just determine all these x values. So for the first one, this first point here, if I follow it down, it has an x value of 1. If I follow down the next one, that has an x value of 2. This has an x value of 3, 4, and 5. So we're just taking our x values from every point here. Next, to find our range, we need our y values. So I'm going to start with the lowest point and just look over on my y-axis. That looks like it hits right at 30. Next, I'm going to follow over on my next point. And that is just below 60, so let's just say 59. Now, if I ever give you, or Ms. DeJude or myself give you a question like this on a quiz or a test, it's going to be exact, so you're not going to have to be guessing around, but here it's not super exact. So follow this over. It looks like it hits at about, I would say, 80. I can see an argument for maybe 75. Following the next one over, that would be a little bit above 90, so let's say 100. And the last one hits right on the intersection of 120. So there's your range. Next, we're going to look at the table. So the table here really isn't in the best format. It really should be in order, my x values from least to greatest. So I'm going to reorder that. I'm going to take -4, and then -3, and then 1, 2, and 2. 1, 2, and 2. It's important to put the x values in order, but you actually can't put the y values in order because, look, -4 has to go with 5. So I can't put those in order. You just have to match up the x and the y values that go together. So -4 and 5 go together. -3 has a y value of -2. 1 has a y value of 5. And 2 has 2 y values, 3 and 4. So we can put those. I'm just going to put 3 first and then 4. So there's my table, and now it's all ready to be, the domain and range are ready to be determined because it's in order. So I'm going to go ahead and take my x values, -4, -3, 1, and 2. Now, I do have 2 show up twice, but I'm only going to write it once in my domain. Because I'm listing all the possible values, there's no reason to put the same value twice. And then my range, I have to put in order. So I'm going to start with the lowest, -2, and then 3, 4, and 5. Again, 5 shows up twice, notice, but I'm only going to put it once. So there you go. And then here's our mapping. It's important that your mapping is labeled. This one's labeled input and output. Another way you can label it is x to y, or domain to range. But basically, you're taking your x values in order and mapping them to the y value. So you can grab your domain right from what's already in this input box. So my domain would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then my range, they've already eliminated extras, doubles. I'm just going to list 3, 6, and 8. If I were to write the ordered pairs from this, because it's important to know how it works, what this is telling me is I've got the ordered pair 1, 3, 1 maps to 3. I've got the ordered pair 2, 3. I've got the ordered pair 3, 6. And then 4, 6. And 4 has 2 arrows coming from it. So I also have 4, 8. It's important to realize that the arrows represent one ordered pair. So however many arrows you have, that's how many ordered pairs you're going to have. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arrows. I have 5 ordered pairs. So it's good to know how mappings work. Last, we're going to look at inverse relations. So for every ordered pair, there should be an inverse. So for every ordered pair x, y, there must be a y, x. So notice what's going on here. To get the inverse, we're simply just swapping x and y just the way they are. So if this is my relation, in order to get the inverse, I'm just going to switch 4 and 2 to become 2 and 4. And I'm going to switch 3 and negative 1 to become negative 1 and 3. The numbers are staying the same, they're just switching places. So 2, 0 becomes 0, 2. And 1, negative 4 becomes negative 4, 1. So pretty straightforward, but you do have to know you've got to switch your x and your y values. So next we're going to go through the you-dos. I want to point out that for naming the point number 2, we want an x and a y value. So we want the ordered pair of that point. Okay? Also, if you need to, for the quadrants or any of this, go back in the video and rewatch that section if you need some extra help. Raise your hand when you're done, and we will go ahead and check you. Thank you for listening.